Hi everyone. Today I'm going to take you through how to construct a blueprint for a client. This is something that we've done a lot of work on and arrived at a format which we feel covers everything that our own teams need, as well as various decision points that the client needs to be aware of from a blueprint perspective. So the first thing that you'll see is there are so many tabs. What we're usually used to seeing is one Excel sheet with a lot of rows for the various triggers. But what we've now added is all the little elements that actually go into that one big trigger sheet. So let me walk you through these sheets. The first one is the lifecycle segment. So here you will, in discussion with the client, come up with what is their definition of a lead, what is their definition of an active customer, what is their definition of an inactive customer. There are certain default definitions that are already available in SOLUS. This is based on our experience, based on work that we've done with multiple clients before. So this kind of works as a starting point and is usually also an end point for a lot of clients when it comes to creating lifecycle segments. So this is the first sheet. The second sheet is all about campaign segments. So this blueprint that has been created as a generic blueprint will covers industries like retail, QSR, grocery, more those kind of sectors. So you'll see these segments which you're seeing up here have been used in this blueprint. And the reason why we're calling out these campaign segments is because these are going to be used to create the custom variables. When I go to the trigger sheet, you will see how these have been used because there are certain triggers which will be applicable only to certain types of segments. And these are the segments outside, over and above the lifecycle segments. So they of course will be a subset. So they'll be smaller. They'll be based on some action or inaction that the customer has taken. Then there are a whole lot of other segments which are mentioned in this blueprint. This is just for inspiration when you're creating a blueprint, and if you want to use something to give you a starting point of what are the micro segments that can be created, then this longer list is for that. The third sheet explains the recommendation types or the recommendation stories that have been used in this blueprint. So what kind of algorithm will be used to create the recommendation for a particular trigger has been explained in this sheet. It's fairly self-explanatory. So you will see that, for example, row number 4 says record type is hybridizer without reorder. So here essentially what it means is give me a set of top recommendations for the customer across all my recommendation algorithms, but exclude reorder items. That means don't recommend items that the person has already ordered before. Whereas in the case of grocery, it will be quite different. So if you look at row number 10, we've called it Smart Basket with reorder. So in a category like grocery, you'll want people to come back and buy what they've already been buying with you, which could be potatoes, onions, tomatoes, beans, carrot, etc. So you want to create a Smart Basket which has what they've bought before, plus has products which they are highly likely to buy but they haven't bought. So those products which they've not yet bought will be an output of the hybridizer without reorder, and then you'll have all the reorder products as well added in. The fourth tab here is governance. Now governance is important from multiple points of view. So we need to come to, this sheet is usually created in sync with the client. It's based on budget, it's based on the kind of industry they are in, it's based on, whether it's high frequency purchase, low frequency purchase category, etc. And what we try to do, the first section is talking about cool off at a life cycle segment level. So there could be that you want to communicate more to active, less to inactive. You want to send WhatsApp to only actives. You don't want to send WhatsApp to deep lapsed. So that construct is what you're seeing over here till row number 11. Then communication level cool off, that if a person gets one specific trigger, how many days should it be before that trigger is repeated again to the same customer? So here again, it can be blanket for all customers, or it could be different for active, inactive. Coverage is what you want, what's the percentage of customers you want SOLUS to cover. So ideally, our coverage requirement would be, 100%. Then if the client has a budget or a throttling limit, and they say that this is fine, but I cannot afford to send more than n number of SMSs or WhatsApp per month because that's part of my marketing budget, then this budget number should come here in terms of number of sends. Exclusion, again, an important part to note, because you need to have a discussion with the client to understand what kind of products which exist in the product master should not be recommended. So you'll see a lot of clients which will have freebies, who will have very highly discounted products, products which go along with the sale. For example, your paper bags or your cloth bags, or some very low value products, or some trial products, or mini versions of the same product, or samples. So those products which need to be excluded from recommendations need to be highlighted over here. Then the section about customer exclusion. So this is fairly intuitive. Exclude DND, exclude unsubscribe, exclude no consent. And the reason why we're putting it here, even though it's intuitive, is it's good to have this discussion with the client so that all the factors that go into creating the list are very clear upfront to the client. That, yes, you have 1 million customers, but you don't have consent to communicate with 30% of that base. So it automatically reduces your outreach base for WhatsApp by 70%. So, that kind of understanding gets settled right from the beginning. Otherwise, the discussion that you'll end up having is, oh, but I have 1 lakh customers. Why am I sending it only to 70,000 customers? Why didn't we send it to more? So those kind of, conversations get handled with, including these points here. Finally, who's going to do what in terms of sending out the communication? Is the stitching going to happen at SOLUS's end? Is it going to be done by a execution partner? All that is detailed here, and this needs to be updated if partners change or if the way of working changes. The fifth tab is about measurement. I think all of us know how important this is, because the success or how well we are doing depends on how well we've been able to define this with the client. So here again, there are some measurements that come out of the box with SOLUS. For example, your lift metrics. But it's important to have a discussion. It's important to establish whether click rate is more important than incremental revenue, or is lift more important than click rate, those kind of points. Also the attribution window. So by default, we take it as 7 days, but if the client has a specific point of view, then that needs to be addressed, and that needs to be communicated to the team who's going to configure the blueprint. Same for control group. Okay, now I'm coming to this big sheet, which is the trigger sheet, which really details out what message, to whom, how often, which channel, etc. etc. So first I'll walk you through the column headers. So theme is the primary reason for this conversation with the customer. What part of the journey is the customer in with the brand that creates the need for this communication. The second one is the campaign name, that what are you doing under this theme specifically for the customer. Trigger is defining it one level in greater detail. Reco type, here you will mention the kind of recommendation algorithm you are using for this trigger. Lifecycle segment is to whom this trigger will be sent. Now, if you realize, all these are now going to be very easy to fill, because you've already done the work on reco types, you've already done the work on lifecycle segments, you've already done the work on campaign segments. Sometimes these sheets of campaign segment, reco type, will get filled in after you create this master sheet, because this kind of gives you an idea of what all you want to do, and then you go back and fill these sheets. So it can work both ways. The day is the day on which you want to send the trigger. So there are two types of data points you'll see over here. There'll be some triggers which will have a specific date, that do it T+1 from the first transaction, do it T+5 from the first transaction, send this between 20 to 25 days of the first transaction, send it 7 days before expiry. And then you'll see a whole lot of NAs, which basically means that these triggers don't have specific days. They can be sent on any day. They are performance-based triggers. SOLUS will decide what is the best day to send this trigger. And if you kind of go down the blueprint, you will realize that most of the triggers which relate to driving repeat or cross-sell, upsell, those will usually be performance-based triggers. Triggers which are handling a very specific journey for the customer, or a very specific use case, like I want to win back or I want to onboard a customer. So the customer has bought from me for the first time. Now I want to handhold him in a very specific manner. So SOLUS, you don't decide when to send this communication. I will tell you when to send this, because there's a specific way in which I want to onboard the customer. So in that case, you'll mention the dates. You'll see the same happening when it comes to, say, a celebration. So you don't want SOLUS to decide when to send a purchase anniversary communication. You're very clear that the day after the person has made their has been with you for N years, you want to send out this communication. Or a milestone communication should go within 5 days of making the milestone purchase, etc. Or a birthday communication needs to go 15 days before the birthday. Those kind of things. You'll also see a lot of the win back campaigns will have specific days mentioned, because here again you want to follow a specific cadence. You want to perhaps send offers in a escalating manner to the customer. So if it's 10%, 15%, 20%, you want to give it a very structured approach to try and win back the customer. So that's what the column day is about. Performance-based is basically you telling SOLUS that no, you please don't think about when to send this communication. You have to send this communication based on the day that I have mentioned. And where it says yes, it means SOLUS, you decide. Based on the overall governance rules that I have set in place, you can decide whether today you want to send a smart basket trigger, or you want to send a trending trigger, or you want to send a replenishment trigger. Columns I and J is, literally like a creative brief to the creative team of the client. Now we don't get into bifurcating this by channel, saying that, this is the message for WhatsApp, this is the message for email, this is the message for notification. But we're essentially telling the client what is the tonality of this trigger that I want you to create across the channels that we've decided to send it from. So key message will have all the personalization variables, all the URLs, etc. There is column J, which is a further articulation of column I. Assuming all the personalization variables have been filled in, what will the message actually look like when the customer receives it? Here again, it's not for a specific channel, it is for tonality. So, we should not get into the trap of creating something like this for WhatsApp, creating something like this for email, creating something like this for SMS, making sure it is 160 characters, making sure, it conforms to the WhatsApp template. Because our job is not to get into the creative, it is to provide the tonality for the trigger. And these two columns more than suffice for that objective. The other columns, the rest, K, L, M and N, basically indicate, are there any links in this? Do you want to send the customer to a specific page? It could be a static page, it could be your dynamic landing page, it could be a deep link of an existing page. Various things should get articulated here. What are the personalization elements that you're using in this trigger? The offer type, is there an offer? If there is it discount based? Is it a flat amount? If you have a further, categorization of offers, that is it a high, medium, low, all that will also come in here. Finally, cool off. do have specific rules for specific triggers in the blueprint. That yes, this is a lead gen trigger. I want to try and drive the first purchase, but I don't want to send it more than 4 times in a month to a customer. So mention those specific rules which apply to that trigger over here. 364 days. So here it is against the purchase anniversary. So I don't want to send a purchase anniversary communication before the next 1 year kind of goes through. It's just small little rules to make sure that nothing goes wrong with the system. So this is the big trigger sheet. And the way the triggers are constructed, so you'll see that the sheet doesn't have 100 triggers, it doesn't have 200 triggers. So that doesn't go to say that we're not doing enough. What we're really doing is we're letting the personalization handle the we're letting the variables, or the personalization variables handle the fact that this communication is going to be highly personalized to you. So I don't need to break up a onboarding trigger into multiple, like not bought for 1 week, not bought for 2 weeks, not bought for 3 weeks, and repeat the same communication again and again. The basic rule about creating a blueprint is, if the creative template is going to work across different rows or segments or campaigns, then don't create multiple rows. Let the creative handle the personalization. So whether it's name, whether it's landing page, whether it's the last subcategory you bought, whether it's the voucher code, let all the variation be handled in the creative and not add more and more rows for the same communication. Okay, so that's one. In the last section of this blueprint, you'll see that there are 5 or 6 triggers here, 5, which are online records. So the reason why we are putting it here is so that one is the client is aware that this is also part of what SOLUS will do for them. These are the recommendations that will flow from SOLUS to their online property, whether it is website or app. What kind of algorithms will get activated, who will kind of be able to view these recommendations, where will they sit on the home page or on the app home page, or is it a specific product page, and what's the key message or the header that will sit on top of the recommendations. So it doesn't fall squarely in the same template as the above triggers, but it's good to have everything in one place so that you know everything that SOLUS is doing for your client. So that's on this trigger sheet. And my experience is that if you have a set of 30-40 such triggers to start with, you're good to go. Once you actually go live with this, then you can start fine-tuning it based on the kind of response you see, based on the kind of engagement you see. Finally, the last tab is about a phase-wise rollout. And the reason why we are doing this is because, we all know that the clients get overwhelmed when they have to do so many creatives for so many channels, and they've given a week or 2 weeks. And then we start following up with them saying that we haven't got creatives, we can't go live. So we're basically trying to, make that process easy. You can, of course, prioritize it in whatever way is most important to the client. This is only indicative of a priority set. So, tell the client that in week 1, give us 5 triggers, followed by, the next 5, followed by the next 5, which will kind of ease them and their creative team, and it'll also make sure that we go live quicker and on time. So yeah, this is, in short, a walkthrough of a very, very generic blueprint. If you need any more help, you can write to me, call me anytime, and I can walk you through specific aspects of the blueprint for your client. Thank you.